Good evening and welcome to the Death Cafe. It's lovely to have you here this evening. When you come online, do me a favor and check in. Let us know where you are in the world. It's one of the beauties of a live event is people can sign on from all over the world, and that's kind of magical. Get yourself a nice refreshment, and I look forward to sharing the Death Cafe with you. We'll start in just a minute, and always love to come together and build community and allow us to be present. I don't know what your journey's been up to this moment of your day, but it's a good time to just find yourself a cozy place to sit down or lie down. And let us gently and deliberately close our eyelids and bring our awareness to our breath. Take a moment to allow your breath to drop you deep within, connecting with the sensations of your body. Become aware of any areas of holding, control, or tension in your body, and allow yourself to let it go, using your breath to drop deeper within, deeper inside to that still place that somehow is always still. Take a couple more breaths. Maybe there's something on your mind, something that you can let go of for our time together. And take that moment for yourself. I invite you to create a gentle, accepting, non-judgmental, and grateful atmosphere for yourself, honoring whatever moves through you. May you and all beings be happy and know the source of happiness. May you and all beings be free from suffering and free from the sources of suffering. May it be so. Welcome to the Death Cafe. As you're signing on, please let us know where you are in this big, beautiful world. It's fun to unite together through the ethers and share our hearts a bit. It's always an honor to be here. For those of you that are new to the Death Cafe, I want to share just a little bit about what a Death Cafe is. The phrase Death Cafe identifies both a movement and an individual gathering that occur part of this movement. The Death Cafe began in Switzerland when a gentleman, Bernard Kreitz, held his first Café Mortel in 2004. Later, there was a British web designer, John Underwood, who was inspired to host a Death Cafe gathering in his home in London in September of 2011. As of this evening, there's over 13,568 Death Cafes in 81 countries. So the beauty is we're not alone. I've had the honor of leading Death Cafes since 2014. And if I can take a moment just to introduce myself, my name is Dr. Dearhart, and I have the honor of being the founder of a nonprofit organization called The Heartway. And we're dedicated to support those before, during, and after death with counseling and advocacy and end-of-life care and education. And we've been doing this work for several years. And I was looking for a forum to talk more about death, to create a space where people could have safety, comfort, and hear from each other what our thoughts, fears, hopes, dreams, curiosities are. And when I found the Death Cafe, I thought it was perfect because it wasn't a support group and it wasn't a grief group. It's a discussion group. It's for you. They're always offered on a nonprofit basis, and the goal is to create a respectful environment for all, a confidential space with no intention of coming to any conclusions, any products, any actions. And if we were together meeting, which we did pre-pandemic, I'd offer you refreshments and always chocolate, because that's always a good thing to have at a death cafe. So pour yourself something to drink and enjoy our time together sharing. The overall objective of the Death Cafe gathering is really to increase awareness of death with a view of helping people make the most of their finite lives. Because when we accept that our life is finite, it usually allows us to live more fully. It helps us let go of some of the external roles or petty concerns that we have that essentially don't bring meaning to our life. We hone in on what really brings meaning to our life. It allows for more space and incentive to focus on what truly is important, and thus bringing great meaning to our life. People choose so many different reasons to participate in the Death Cafe gathering, but it's noteworthy that the Death Cafe movement has arisen spontaneously, and it appears to fill a felt need in our culture and many cultures around the world. It gives people that space to talk about death, talk openly in any subject related to death. And I'm so thrilled that we can come together on this platform, Facebook Live and YouTube Live, to share. You know, we can't magically make death disappear from our lives, nor can we completely erase the sadness and other forms of distress associated with death-related issues. However, we can talk about it. We can share our insights and attitudes. We can learn from each other and strive together to cope more effectively with dying, death, and bereavement. After all, it is one of the most poignant events in our life. It's funny, we prepare a lot for birth. We prepare a lot for weddings and ceremonies, but some of us don't prepare and put that heart space into how we want this life to end. So this is a space for you to ask your questions, to share, and you can just put them in on your chat, and I will be more than happy to facilitate this conversation and share some thoughts. So I asked you, what's on your mind? What would be helpful tonight to talk about or process? And what brought you here tonight? I'm sure there's a lot of other things you could be doing than a death cafe. So something brought you here. Curiosity, wonder. Maybe there's something you're going through in your life. So please let us know, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I'm going to go ahead on the feed and catch up with some of your comments. Thank you, Miss M. You're joining from Yuba County, California. Nice to have you here. And I forgot to share with you, I'm joining from Yosemite, California. It's just beautiful up here. I'm up in the mountains for a couple days, experiencing some time with family, and I'm delighted to be here and thought, okay, I can broadcast from Yosemite. Got a nice warm fire behind me. It's cozy, and looking forward to sharing this time with you today. So, what's on your mind? Send some information in. I'm reminded too, while you're gathering some of your thoughts, of a question that comes up all the time. I'm asked about it, I write about it, I teach about it, and I'm wondering if this affects you at all, or if this is connected to you. Why do you think people are afraid of dying or death? And are you afraid of dying or death? The truth is that dying is one of the most vulnerable experiences in our life. No one can truly take the pain away. It's an experience that we walk through. had the honor of holding many, many hundreds. I don't really count at the end of life. And as we approach the end of life, we become very vulnerable. We become very open. We become very known. And we spend a good part of our life putting up shields and walls. I was just reminded the other day in a conversation of sometimes at the end of life, you know, we breathe funny. We may even smell funny. We may be in pain. And that's pretty scary. I find that one of the best medicine at this time of life is truly love, how we hold each other. And being that vulnerable, knowing that someone's there loving you no matter what, I think is one of the most precious experiences we have in life. Don't we spend a lot of our life searching for that love? Someone that'll love us no matter what, someone that'll love us um, irregardless of what we're going through, what we're experiencing, what we're feeling, what we look like. Yeah. So we have a comment. I think people are afraid of what they don't know, being vulnerable and letting go of control. Yeah, I see that often, Miss M, about being afraid of what we don't know. Think about those moments in your life about being out of control or being placed in situations where we're unsure. It's pretty scary. And death for many of us becomes the great unknown. For many cultures, death is a huge adventure too. The Tibetans prepare every day for their death so that when death comes, they will be prepared for death. But we're afraid of what we don't know. I'm wondering why we're afraid. Why do we not see things that we don't know as an adventure, as possibilities? How do we know that death isn't one of the great adventures in our life? I think part of the reason is when we witness someone dying or we witness somebody suffering, it hurts our hearts. For me, that's one of the most difficult experiences in life, is watching someone we love suffer. And in death, there is suffering. We have incredible support teams like end of life practitioners, death doulas, hospices that can help us with pain control. But if you think about it, at the end of life, we lose all that, many of the things that have brought us um, meaning in our life. We lose a lot of our functioning. I'm up here enjoying the snow and being able to go hiking. And one day I won't be able to do that anymore. And I'll grieve that. It's the circle of life and what is meant in our journey. But it's something that I have to let go of to experience this whole being of our lives. Mm. We let go of a lot at the end of our life. Life prepares us for that. We let go of a lot. Welcome. Checking in, and as you're coming on, I'd like to welcome you to the Death Cafe. And please feel free to let us know where you are in the world and to make a comment in the chat or ask a question. This evening, this time in the Death Cafe is really for you to ask your questions, to make an inquiry about death, dying, or beyond. Another question that comes to mind that's connected with being afraid of death is I'm wondering how we can accept our mortality and still face life's uncertainty. In other words, how do we hold those uncertainties and live life to the fullest, knowing that this is all going to end? How does that inspire life? Do you have any thoughts? Hi, Carolyn from Australia. It's lovely to have you here and be part of the conversation. I'm imagining you might be tomorrow morning. Appreciate you being here and what's on your mind. Let us know if you have any questions or any thoughts. So how do we live our life to the fullest, knowing that we're going to die one day? Well, for me, death inspires life. It has for many years. I've had the honor of the last 35 years supporting people at the end of life. And I truly know I'm going to die. And I know this life is precious. And I know this moment, even being with you here tonight, won't come again. So it inspires me to live it fully. How do I want to live it? How do I want to be here with you? And for me, that's open hearted. For me, that's being as present as I can. For me, that's being in my truth, my authentic truth, to the best of my ability. That's what death does. Because I know this is going to end. There's so much to see, so much to experience, so much to do. But the love is the most sacred and the most precious. And death helps my heart be more open. There's a poignancy to life that happens when we know it ends. Maybe you can think of a time in your life where you've lost someone or even a pet. And that grief afterwards, that painful grief, that missing them, that yearning. And over time, there becomes a bittersweetness with the love that we have, and a sacredness and a preciousness of the experiences that we had. And we miss the ones we'll have. And somehow that changes how we love. Somehow that makes that connection with our loved ones more precious. Because we don't know when that love will end. I do believe love crosses the veil. We can still feel loved from those that have died. But it somehow makes this love more poignant. I also know after I lose a loved one, I'm reminded of living fully. I'm reminded of loving fully. I'm reminded that tomorrow's not guaranteed. So how do I want to live this life? We have that free will, and death is one of those aspects that inspires us. With some thoughts, any reactions to that sharing? Carolyn, you're tomorrow at 2:17 p.m. I'm glad it's not too late, and welcome. And you value the connection you have with others so very much. Yes. And death makes that so poignant, so precious. Somehow, when we know something or someone's not going to be there forever, each moment's more precious, each moment's more enlivened. And from there, we inspire our joy. From there, we inspire being present. Think about it. What if you were never going to die? How would your life change? It might change a lot because death motivates us as well. I want to share a Disney film that I love, if I might, called Tuck Everlasting. And it's a story of a family that found the fountain of youth, and they lived for generations. Well, it ended up not being as joyous as they would have thought. Everybody that they love died and died again and died again. And they didn't have that experience of dying. It's quite interesting. It's a wonderful film. I suggest you take a peek at it. It's not a cartoon, but it is a Disney film. You might enjoy it. So death inspires us to see that sun, to see the rivers and the oceans, to experience the awe that this life gives us. And it brings meaning to this life. What brings meaning to your life? And is that inspired by death? I want to go and share a couple comments. Often with pets, thanks Miss M, although heartbreaking, I see people comment about how they go over the rainbow bridge and are out of pain, yet not always with people. That rainbow bridge is a beautiful concept, isn't it? You know that saying, all dogs go to heaven. And I'm convinced I'm going to be with my puppies. So we get that opportunity to create an image of death in the afterlife. What do you think happens after we die? Will we be reunited with our loved ones and our pets? What do your spiritual or religious traditions teach you? And what do you feel and know? Nobody really knows. But spending some time imagining, spending some time studying philosophies and religions from all over the world helps to give us a frame of reference for what the meaning of life is, death, and beyond. And you get that opportunity to create that for yourself. We do know, for those that have an imagination or have a faith about the afterlife, appear to be a little less fearful at the end of life. Little less fearful. And yet someone that may not have a strong spiritual tradition may still have a belief in the afterlife, or belief that this life is it, and that brings them peace. That brings them peace. Hello from Victoria, Canada. Welcome. This is your first time attending a Death Cafe. It's lovely to have you here. And the Death Cafe is for you. It's an opportunity for you to ask questions, what's on your mind, any curiosities about death and beyond. It's your opportunity to share and hear others share their questions or inquiry. The one thing that death does is unites us, because we're all going to die. And we all have our feelings and emotions about it. But it's a human experience that we all have. And it's so interesting. It's an experience most of us don't talk about, even though we all are going to face it. We all are going to face it. I'm reminded, by the way, I'd like to share with you, Heartway is starting its book club February 3rd at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the book that we're choosing is called Dying to Be Me by Anita Mordiana. And it's a book about a beautiful Eastern Indian woman that died and came back. And she tells her story and the remembrance she has of crossing the veil and when she died. It's a 4-week book club. We break down the book in parts, and it's just joyous to share our hearts and minds. You're welcome to join us. It's a free community event, and you can check that out on our Facebook page or our website, theheartway.org. You might enjoy that since tonight we're talking a little bit about the afterlife. Carolyn has a comment to share. Yes, as an end of life doula, welcome. I am with the dying and the dead often. I am constantly reminded of the value of life and the love I have to share now with those in my life. Thank you for sharing that. And as a doula, you get a reminder often of this sacredness and preciousness of life. And it does absolutely inspire love. At the end of life, there's so many emotions and experiences. There's love, there's sadness, there's grief, there's loss, there's exhaustion, there's a surrealness, and something beyond any words I'll ever be able to come up with. But all of that inspires this life. Not talking about death, not being connected with death, inspires more fear, buries this experience, and creates tension or dis-ease in the body. It's something we know is going to happen, yet talking about it, we know from a science standpoint, creates physiological dis-ease, emotional and spiritual. You know that expression, we can run, but we can't hide? It's the same thing with facing our death. We can run, but we can't hide from death. And the more we talk about it, the more we share, the more we plan for it, the more grace and ease we have in this life. Absolutely beautiful. Miss M comments, not talking about death, which is inevitable, is like pretending it will go away and not happen. Exactly. It's been hard with families I've worked with over the years that don't talk about death, don't face death, and don't plan for death. I often share about my sister who died a couple years ago of end-stage breast cancer, who didn't want to talk about death. She worked with cancer for 10 years of her life. She died just under her 50-year birthday. And I absolutely feel in my heart and my soul that it exacerbated her cancer. She was very afraid, and she made no plans for her end of life. That created an incredible stress on everybody, having to figure out what her wishes were, how to handle her material life, and created a lot of anxiety for the family and loved ones afterwards. Luckily, I was very close with her, so I knew a lot of who she was and what she might wish for. And that helped me ease a little bit of my stress as I officiated her memorial, prepared for the dissolution of her body, and helped her children move through uh, closing her material life. It's a huge part of dying, and also one area we don't talk about a lot, preparing for our death and bringing a close to our life and our material life. When we don't share that with our loved ones, it makes it extremely difficult for them after we die. I think about that all the time when I'm helping families prepare their end of life documents. We created a document called My Life, My Death, and it helps family go through different aspects from the material, the legal, um, passwords and advance directives and insurance documents and where funds are, access to funds, etc., etc., etc. It's a huge list. And not preparing that for someone that'll be responsible for it puts an incredible burden at a time when they're grieving you not being there anymore. And the beauty is taking a little time and planning it out can really ease that tension. And when you do that for your loved ones, you unburden yourself because you know you're leaving them in good hands. You're knowing that your life will come to a close peacefully and your loved ones will make sure everything's cared for you. It's really worth putting some extra attention and care into it. If you need some additional information, please uh, just reach out. And I just had our end of life practitioner students have 5 people each fill out this document, and they're noticing the objections to it. They're noticing the denials. They're noticing the stalling. They're noticing the anxiety that comes with filling out these paperworks. It's really simple. We have to face our mortality when they do these documents. We come to the face of, I'm going to die, so I have to do these documents. So it is scary. So please reach out for some help to walk through these tasks with you, to hold your hand and to guide you, to help you come to completion with your life and support those in your life. I personally think it's the last greatest gift we can give to our loved ones. Let me check in with you guys. I'm navigating my way as a death doula and look forward to the blessing of being with the dying and their people. Congratulations. It is a very noble and beautiful work that you are embarking on. It's a great gift because in many cultures, and we're from all over tonight, which is I'm really grateful for, in many cultures, we don't prepare for death. We don't talk about death. So when death is upon us, for ourselves or loved one, there's so much anxiety. There's so much fear. And we're lost for what to do. Completely lost. Sometimes I work with families for months and years, sometimes for days, sometimes for a day. Someone will call and say, I got your name. My loved one is in the hospital. They're coming home on hospice. I don't know how to choose a hospice. I don't know how to prepare my home. I am so overwhelmed. And they end up in a puddle of tears. It's so frightening because we want to love our loves through, and we're so overwhelmed. Partly the overwhelm comes because this isn't part of our life conversations. And there's a lot to do at the end of life to care for someone, to make sure they're comfortable, to take care of their material life, to deal with pain and anxiety and stress, letting other people know. The list goes on. And we're really unprepared. The beauty is we can prepare. And the beauty is the tasks aren't that difficult. You don't have to do it all at once. We can go step by step by step. And death doulas help with that. Death doulas often, not always, but often are trained to create death plans with people, helping them understand. And we train our end of life practitioners, they're also death doulas in this way, helping them work with families to undermine what is challenging for them. What are their wishes? How do they want to be cared for at the end of life? Who do they want by their side at the end of life? And who do they not want by their side at the end of life? Do they want to be by themselves? Do they want music? Do they want to be medicated, even if that means they might not be conscious? Do they want to tolerate a level of pain so they can stay connected to their loved ones? The list and questions go on, but going through a plan helps ease our mind, especially in that vulnerable time, that someone's got us. Someone's holding us. Without a doubt, that's the most important thing. At that time of life, it doesn't matter how much money we have. It doesn't matter what work we did. It doesn't matter we forgot to get something at the grocery store. It matters not. It matters how we love, who we love, and how we take in love. And I wish that for all of you. So when you run across those fears and tensions, we all have them. It's absolutely natural. Take a breath and take some time and reach out for support. I promise you, it'll help alleviate that anxiety. Probably the sweetest and most precious things I hear from family was, "Oh, thank you for walking by my side. I didn't feel alone, and it helped with my anxiety and fear." So happy for that. You don't have to be alone. We have each other. Wonderful to hear. I want to check back in with all of you. Um, I'm hearing from Miss M that you had a stepmother that also didn't do the preparing for end of life, and that your dad was lost, not knowing what to do, and if he did what she wanted, and very sad to watch. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's one of the greatest struggles, and it was for me with my sister. Even though I know I did the very best I could, and I knew her as well as anybody else. But we don't always know what our loved ones want. So we're guessing. And sometimes we can guess well and sometimes not. But if we had that opportunity to hear from our loved ones, it takes that stress off our heart and that burden. And we feel peace knowing we love them through. Um, my mom died 3 weeks after my sister died. And that was a very hard time for me, as you can imagine. But my mom did a beautiful job of telling me of what she wanted at the end of life. And I was able to ensure that her wishes were fulfilled. So I had peace after she died. I didn't have those what if scenarios that sometimes ruminate for us, or I should have done this. I knew to the best of my ability, I loved her through, and I met what her needs are, including spreading her ashes in her favorite place in Dana Point, California. Giving her what she wanted gave me another layer of peace, whole body peace, that I hoped and prayed she was at peace too. Mhm. It is a huge thing to do this work in our lives, to prepare for our life, plan in our life, and plan in our death. I really can't even separate life and death. People often say, "Well, I don't want to talk about dying." And I say, "I don't either." And they said, "Yes, you do. You're that death lady." Well, I don't. I really want to talk about how you want to live until you die. Life is a process. Life is a journey. Death is an event. It's a moment in time. So we live all the way till we take our last breath. It really changes the perspective, doesn't it? It was really about living more, dying less. How are you going to embrace this moment? How are you going to embrace this life? Planning in life and planning in death are all part of that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you all. By the way, I love the little hearts and things. It's a way we get connected. How do you feel about some of the aspects that I was sharing? Have you done your end of life documents? Have you shared with your durable power of attorney of health care or finances what your wishes are? Have you shared how you want your body disposed of at the end of life? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be aqua cremation? There's many ways to allow our bodies to rest in the earth these days. But have you done that paperwork? I have, and I have more to do. I have to be honest with you. I just finished this document, my life, my death document. So I'm trying to go through that methodically. And it will take some time. But I have shared with my love how I want to be treated at the end of life. I'll share with you. I know I want to be home if I can. And I know that I want to be home for 3 days after I die, not moved, and have those that want to come and visit, sit vigil, talk to me, pray for me, send flowers, share their hearts. And I want to have an end of life practitioner bathe me, dress me, oil me, prepare me for my final resting place. And I want to be in a cardboard casket and having loved ones and maybe grandkids, maybe color and draw. And I want them to be able to say goodbye however they wish. I want to have the least amount of medications as I can, depending on the pain tolerance. It's one of the things that's hard to plan for, but really awesome to talk about. I know I want to be awake and aware. I know I want to stay connected with my loved ones as much as I can. I know I want to die slowly if I can. People go, slowly, why? Well, I've spent my life with death every day, and I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to know if I imagined correctly. I want to know what that great mystery is about. Yes, I know I'm a little strange, but I thought I'd share it with you. Do you have your life and death plan in place? Excuse me. Mhm. Um, Tatiana, and forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your name properly. Um, you haven't done your own end of life plan, but in doing this with your mom, beautiful. I'm so grateful for her willingness to speak about her death and her work, her wants. And I hope you get a chance to do yours. I hope you get a chance to share with her what your wishes are. You know, we really don't know when the end of life will be here. Some of us um, have a better idea. Maybe we've been diagnosed with a disease that will take our life one day, 1 month, 1 year. Some of us may die suddenly in a car accident. That's why the Tibetans practice every day being ready. We don't know when that moment will come. And when we keep that moment close in sight, I think we're living fuller. We understand the finiteness of this life, and that will inspire how we live. When it's far away from us, we get caught up in more of the drama of life and maybe lose that heart centeredness with others, maybe lose our true nature. When we are living our life in our true nature, we suffer less. We're aligned with ourselves. That's my goal and intention, is living within our true nature, our evolving true nature. And our true nature knows that this life will end. I'm glad, Miss M, you were able to get your dad to give you some directions. Um, and he sounds like he learned from experience with his wife, and that allowed him to plan and give you grace. It's so amazing to know and to not question and know you're there for your loved ones. I think it's such a beautiful way of loving each other. It's another way of loving and a beautiful one. Ah, I got what you meant, durable power of attorney. Yes. For those of you that may not know a durable power of attorney, there's a durable power of attorney for healthcare, and there's a durable power of attorney for finances. And that's the person that you assign. It's an agent. It can be called the agent. Should you not be able to make healthcare decisions for yourself, this is the person that you've entrusted to make those decisions for you. It's a legal document. Each country, each state has their form. You don't have to have it notarized. You just have to have two people witness it. And this is where you share. Um, you don't want to be resuscitated. You may or may not want a feeding tube. This is where you share no heroics. This is what you share your end of life wishes. And you share with your durable power of attorney for healthcare, because this is the person that's going to take that responsibility on should you not be able to make those decisions for yourself. But you want to tell them, you want them to know, because they're going to they're going to follow your wishes. And if you don't tell them, they're going to do the best they can because they love you, but it adds an immense amount of burden on their hearts and minds to try and figure that out. Now, doing this for years, I find things change. My wishes have changed from 20 years ago about how I want to die. 25, 30 years ago, I was very frightened of death and wouldn't have touched any of this. Um, and now I have an extended several pages attached to my uh, advanced directives with directions and wishes and guides that I wish for my family fulfill. I also have given them grace if they can't be fulfilled. My best example of this was actually my mom. When I had my daughter at age 35, she said to me, "Okay, I did it. I redid my will," because I'd been bothering her and pestering her for years. She still, at 35 years old, had my great aunt as my guardian, and my great aunt had died about 10 years before. So she hadn't updated in a long time. Her resources changed, her wishes changed. So she said, "I changed everything, and you're my agent." And I said, "Wonderful, Mom. Will you do me a favor and just share for a few minutes what your wishes are so I know and I can keep that in my mind and we can talk about it later?" And she said, you know." She said, "I don't want any heroics." And I said, "Mom, can you explain what that means? I don't know what heroics means to you, and I want to know." And she said, "Yes." And she said, "Pull the plug. I don't want to be on any equipment." By the way, I don't like that term, pull the plug, but I knew what she meant. She didn't want to be on life support. And then she paused and it was silent on the phone. And I said, "Mom?" And she said, "Wait, don't pull so fast if you know there's a cure coming." And I giggled and I said, "Okay, Mom, I think we better have conversations about this so I can really understand what that means." In that moment, when somebody is on life support and you're having to make that decision of supporting their life ending versus keeping them sustained on life support, which is a whole other beautiful topic we can talk about in Death Cafe. It's stressful, it's demanding, it takes your breath away. So, having that information or a conversation that you have with your loved one, knowing what their wishes are, you'll remember in this moment and it will help you. I've held many hands during this moment, and even when you know it's a painful moment. So the durable power of attorney is a very important person to you and important for them to know your heart, to know your mind, to know your wishes. And I've set it up in this way, and I invite you as well. On your birthday every year, pull out those documents and take a little peek through it to make sure they're still true to your heart and your mind. Because things change. And if something's changed, like if you have children and you had a durable power of care person that was going to be responsible for your children if you died and they've died, you get an opportunity to change it in the legal document, so there's no question. Same for your pets, pet guardians. So something happened to you, you know that your pets will be loved and cared for. Very important. So every year it's a beautiful birthday present for yourself to keep yourself up to date and aware of what your wishes are and those that you're leaving responsible. I did mention, I just want to close that loop, the durable power of attorney for finances. And that's the person that you've basically um, given over the material goods of your life to be responsible for, to share with others. Maybe they're going to be the sole recipient of your estate or trust or finances, no matter how small or large your material worth is. They're the person that helps execute that after you have died. And they're an important person also. And it's a big job and a big responsibility and a time consuming one. I've done it for a few people. It's absolutely a labor of love and it absolutely takes time. So choose that person wisely from your heart and mind. Again, it's about honoring you, honoring your life, honoring your wishes. And we get to do that, which is amazing. We get to share our wealth. We get to share our clothes. We get to share our jewelry. That's another thing I have in my documents is fun. I didn't want my husband to have to worry about all my clothes and things. So I want to have a gathering and invite all my friends and let them go wild and have whatever they want and to donate the rest. But you never know what might be special to a friend. I wearing my love mom sweater and I wear it all the time because I feel so close to her. And I was gifted that after she died. So there's so many beautiful layers in all this, and it's bittersweet, it's hard, it's painful, and it's so freeing. It's so freeing. You're welcome, Miss M. I'm going to check back in with you guys. We have just a couple more minutes, so please let me know if there's anything else on your mind. I so would enjoy sharing this time with you. Miss M, you're so welcome for. I'm so honored to share. Um, your dad found out that his wife had a DNR once hospice came in, and she had it in place for years, unbeknownst to him. Yeah, that's why I always say when you create these documents, it's great to have them. But one more step, you've got to share them with your loved ones so they know it's there. Sometimes they find them after we have died, and sometimes they don't. Especially something so poignant as a do not resuscitate document. And just in case you're not aware, a DNR is a do not resuscitate document, and that's where you give the medical team the right to resuscitate, to pound on your chest, to do CPR, to use paddles to try and bring your heart back. And for some, towards the end of life, they're ready to let go when it's time, when their heart stops. And whenever that is, it feels like it's meant to be with them. So they choose a do not resuscitate document. It's almost a requirement to go on hospice care these days. Otherwise, it's a different care level. You can learn more about that as well. So Carolyn, thank you. You're welcome. You're so welcome. I need to collect children. Oh, you're saying goodbye. So I was reading that funny. You said you need to go collect your children. Wonderful. It's lovely to have you here and look forward to having you come again. So thank you again. And I want to check in one more time if there's anything on your mind in closing for the evening. We do 2 Death Cafes a month, and you're so welcome to join us, this Zoom and live event, which is really fun. But sadly for me, I don't get to see you, and I love that part. And then I do a Zoom Death Cafe at the end of the month, and that's done through a beautiful community. in Southern California. You can find all the information on our website. It's a free community event, but I'll get to see you, and it's gets to be more of a conversation. So please join us for the Death Cafe. The next one is January 31st, and you can go to theheartway.org to find this information. I see there's one more comment that came in, and I'd love um, to respond to it. Thanks, Carol, for sharing. And I hear your concern that you're not that you're alone. And many people are alone. And there is an opportunity to reach out. There are people out there like end of life practitioners, death doulas. There are friends. There are fiduciaries that you can connect with to help plan so that when you're in need of help or support, you're not alone. I'm thinking of a friend who is alone also, and she's in her 60s, and she has asked the Heartway to step in and support her at the end of life because she had a terrorizing fear of being placed in a home with people that she didn't know. She was okay being in a care home, but wanted someone that loved her, cared for her, and knew her wishes to walk by her side. So I want to inspire you to reach out and search for those people. And you can send some information, questions in on the Heartway, and I'm happy to share more information for you. Thank you all for the sweet comments and getting some lovely feedback of this connection. What I love with it is I feel like you're right here by the fireplace with me and we're having a conversation, and and that's really sweet. And I also want to thank my lovely administrator Nikki, who's behind the scenes sending these wonderful sweet messages and sharing resources, and we're really dedicated to that as an organization, is to support you in your journey in life and death. And you're not alone. There are people out there that would like to walk by your side. I'd like to finish with a little poem if I could, and may it support you. To the anger, I was cheated, but to the happy, I have never left. I cannot speak, but I can listen. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon the shore, gazing at the beautiful sea, remember me. As you look in awe at a mighty forest and in its grand majesty, remember me. Remember me in your hearts, in your thoughts, and the memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the battle we fought, and the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will have never gone. I think that's a beautiful way to keep our loved ones in our hearts. Remember them. We can talk next time of beautiful ways to do that. Thank you all so much for being here with us wherever you are in the world. And it's so sweet that we have this opportunity to connect. Be safe, be loved, be you. With love from my heart to yours.